digging in the crates for something good. Hidden gems often misunderstood. 'Cause you know there's no such thing as too much. Miscellaneous important stuff.
Welcome back to the show. This week, it's just me, actually. It's just me. I don't have a guest this week. Well, sort of, but nobody sat across from me. So I am going to start the show just by talking, which is something I've been wanting to do for a while, actually, because I thought I wanted to start this, and I wanted to be consistent with it, and I wanted to not be dependent on other people to be here for me to be able to make this happen. And of course, that's, especially in the beginning, that was a little bit more nerve-wracking. I wasn't sure how to make that happen. And I think I kept putting it off because there's always someone here that I can talk to. And the fear is always, especially with something like this when it's new and I'm unsure of how it's going to go, is will I be able to do it? Can I do it? Will it be good? Will it be good enough? But that's always the problem, right? We don't start things because we think, I don't know if it's going to be what I want it to be. I don't know if it's going to be good enough when I start. And that is crippling. It's crippling. Because you end up looking back wishing that you would have just done it. And which I've talked about that before, especially with this podcast, that I started it knowing that I was going to allow myself to make mistakes and to be okay with that. That if this didn't go well, if I thought I sounded stupid, if I didn't like what I said, I would post it anyway. And that, I can honestly say, has been very, very therapeutic for me, because the longer I do this, the less I care about what other people think about what I'm doing and how I'm doing it. I appreciate opinions. I appreciate feedback. I really do like hearing what people have to say, whether it's good or bad. But at the end of the day, I'm going to do this the way I want to do it. The way I want to do it. And anyway, that was a long intro. The music stopped a long time ago. But I do have something today. I'm not just going to ramble. That just sort of happened. This is the first take. And I don't want to edit it. So I found a recording. From 2.5 years ago, that I want to play for you. It's about 15 minutes, and it was my girlfriend at the time. I'm not going to use her name, but she did say I could use this recording. She interviewed me about another thing I was working on called Know Your Normal, which is sort of a more focused version of what I'm doing with this podcast and the things surrounding it. And it was about mental health. It was about understanding yourself better. It was about just providing comfort, I guess, and an outlet for people who wanted to know themselves better, I guess, to understand what normal was for them, and to understand that normal is different for everybody. That was sort of the bigger idea with it, and we get into it in this recording. But she interviews me. She's actually she's a licensed clinical social worker, so she asked a lot of great questions. She's in the mental health field, and this was like, I don't remember why we recorded the conversation. Maybe it was for something like this, but it was a good one, and I'm glad we did it, because I just listened to the whole thing, and it's interesting to see how far I've come since then. What I sounded like back then. I can hear how uncomfortable I feel even talking about it and putting those ideas forward to just her, even though it was just me and her sitting there. And again, like I've said before, that's why I love to have these recordings, because I like to look back. I like to see where I was at, where my friends were at, what we were thinking, what our ideas were, and celebrating the fact that we change, our ideas evolve, and we get better and more confident, and we just learn so much more. So I don't look back and I'm not sad or disappointed in who I was or what I was thinking. I'm excited about what I'll learn moving forward and how much better I'll be. But anyway, the reason I wanted to play that recording is because it's so similar to what I'm doing now, and I think it was just a good conversation, and it's an important reminder for me to just start, for one thing, because that was 2.5 years ago, and I obviously didn't do enough to get that going. I know that I procrastinated and I put it off, and I wished that it would be better, and I wanted it to be a certain way, and I wanted to be a perfectionist, which is good sometimes, but not when it stops you from doing anything. And also the other idea brought up for me was just how important it is to listen. Because, and obviously all I'm doing right now is talking, but I think with this show, what's so important to me and in life is to just listen to other people, listen to other people's stories. Stop getting so caught up in your own ideas and judgments of other people that you don't take the time to ask people what's wrong with them, how are they feeling, what's their story, why are they the way they are. Understanding that everyone's going through something. One of my favorite quotes, and I don't know where it's from, is that everyone you meet is fighting a battle you know nothing about. So be kind. Something like that. That sort of sums it up. But I think that's so important because it's true. I think it's easy to look at other people and think about how good they have it and why their situation is better than your situation. And if you could only be them, if you could only have what they have, if you could only have their circumstances and not yours, that you'd be in a different place. But the reality is, if somebody's not going through something difficult right now, they will be. And nobody has this perfect life. So, you know what? I did sort of just ramble, didn't I? It's been almost 8 minutes, and I think I'm proud of that in a way, because I was like, I don't know that I'll be talking for very long before I play this recording. I don't know. And you know what? I was actually going to edit it. I was going to go back. I was going to record an intro, have the music cut off. I was going to do a separate intro, have the music cut off, and then come back in with this bit that I've been doing here. But you know what? Forget it. This is going to be it. It's this one take recording. I don't even know what I did or what I said. So the music, as you heard, because now it's posted and you're listening, the music just cut off underneath me and I just kept rambling. But anyway, I'm just going to play the recording. If you got this far, it's probably not because of what I'm saying. You're just wondering what this recording is. So I'll put it underneath. Well, not underneath. I'll put it after I cut this off. I'm just sorry. I'm going to play the recording, and then I'll come back. Maybe I'll give you some of my thoughts. I might listen to it right now too, again. And also, I'm going to give some updates. This is a little bit of a weird episode. I'm sorry, but I'm going to give some updates about other things that are happening with the show. I do have new episodes that I'm recording this week that'll then play next week and the week after. So, yeah, that's about it. Hopefully this was somewhat entertaining. This is new. This is a new type of intro, a new type of show for me, I guess. I don't know. Anyway, that's it. I will be back. So check out this recording. It's about 15 minutes, and I'll talk to you some more. Okay. All right. See you soon.
And go. We are on.
Go for Know Your Normal.
Know Your Normal. Recording.
Okay. Why do you want to start this?
Well, what is that going to give you for...
That's where we're starting. I get to pick where we're starting, and that's where we're starting.
Why do I want to start this?
Yeah.
Because I want there to be less of a stigma attached to mental health.
When did you
care.
when did you start this idea? When did you have this idea?
Specifically,
Yeah.
like this specific one, or like where did, because it
Just the
kind of evolved out
the
of something
vision.
else. Started like 3 years ago, where I wanted to do T-shirts, and it wasn't necessarily related to mental health. It was T-shirts that. Sorry. Okay. T-shirts that I would design, or like I'd have an artist design, and a story would go with it. Like a T-shirt design that would represent a story, so somebody would write their story.
Mm-hmm.
But it didn't have to be about. I think it was going to be about struggle, like some sort of struggle, but it didn't necessarily.
Have to be about mental illness.
Yeah. And then that turned into mental illness, and that I'd have a different T-shirt for each mental illness from different artists, and then somebody would write a story that went with that.
So you always kind of wanted to have featured people with their own stories.
Yes.
You didn't always want it to be just your story.
No, because I don't really see my story as that important, or where I want to be like, hey, look at my thing, because I think other people have it much worse. Like I'm functioning, other people aren't even functioning because they're struggling.
So what are you wanting people to get out of if they open your YouTube video, for example? What do you want people to get out of that?
I think I want people to get out of these YouTube videos what I get out of other people's YouTube videos,
Which
which
is?
is some sort of comfort and hope. Like I don't think it should be where they're getting treatment from a YouTube video, but maybe it can push them in that direction and give them some hope. Because like I watched the Mark Friedman videos, and I was, I think at that point, not feeling that great, but he made me feel better because he was like really bad OCD, like worse off than I ever was, and now he's basically symptom free. And he talks about how he got to that point, and he gives other people advice.
You feel like he was relatable.
Yeah,
And what
because
he
then
was
he
saying
said,
was
"I'm not a
relatable.
therapist, but this is what I did. This is how I look at things, and I'm doing good." So I think if you can give people like some realistic expectations, and especially because I remember feeling like something was wrong and not feeling good, but I didn't know exactly what that meant. I didn't know exactly what was wrong. I knew about OCD, but I didn't necessarily think that these bad things that were happening were related to that at all. So I just want to encourage people to go to therapy, maybe just to find something out about themselves. I don't want it to be a weird thing that you're crazy if you go to therapy, or only crazy people go to therapy.
Yeah.
So, because I think it was good for me.
What would you see some of the barriers being to this happening? To this taking off where you want it to be?
Religion.
Religion?
Yeah. Because people, I think, are told, or they believe that they don't need any mental health care because they have God. Which is crazy.
And sometimes just cultural beliefs. Sometimes, I work with people that are from particular Asian communities, and it's just cultural that if you have a severe mental illness, especially, that you're sort of just like disabled and you're not really encouraged to even pursue recovery. So maybe that could be something that you're trying to target, is people who have been told maybe their whole life there's really no hope for you, don't even try.
Yeah. That's why I think it's important to have stories of people who have been in a really terrible place and ended up in a really great place. Actually, I'd like to fly to Canada and get Mark Friedman's story.
You think so?
Yeah, actually, I want to get in contact with him because he's got a YouTube audience, but it's not like massive. Like, I feel like I could probably write him and get a response. I'd love to go there and just like interview him. Because he's like also a super nice guy. Because he's Canadian, so
They have to be.
they have to be. It's part of living there.
Yeah, I think it's a requirement.
Yeah. Where was I going?
I Yeah.
Oh yeah, I would encourage anybody to go to therapy though, because I think even if you don't have any particular mental illness, like, you go to the doctor to get a checkup. You can have an issue and not even know it because you don't go.
Can I ask you a personal question?
Yeah.
So, do you think that just from your own experience with therapy, starting therapy, were you ambivalent? Were you doubtful? Did you feel in denial at all?
When I actually went,
Or before it, or right when you started, just kind of that beginning stages of you know maybe something's wrong and you want it to be fixed, but you don't know what to do, and you're real maybe ambivalent about if things are going to work.
when I went, I think I was like desperate for help or an answer. I wanted somebody to tell me that something was wrong because I felt like something was wrong, and I didn't know what else to do.
Validation.
Yeah, I know that I don't feel right, and that I'm feeling a little out of control. So I wanted somebody to tell me what was wrong and what I could do to get help. Because I felt like I had tried pretty hard on my own, and I still wasn't. I was just feeling kind of lost for
And-
different reasons.
When you started going to therapy, what were some of the things that you were starting to experience?
What did I feel like?
Yeah,
when I was there?
What emotions?
I was excited after the first time because he gave me like some answers and where he thought we could go and what his plan was, and I was just like pumped to get back in there. I was like ready to go. But I think there was a time where I was like real against therapy, or I didn't want to go. I think I just didn't want to.
Why?
I think I wanted to get better on my own. And it's expensive,
Yeah.
so it was like hard to. That's the tough part.
Sometimes it's hard for people to admit that there is something wrong, especially when, like our society is not super encouraging of mental health care, and in our state, it's very like rub some dirt in it and get over it. So I think people are reluctant to pursue things and get better because it's not culturally acceptable.
Yeah, nobody wants a healthy person with a healthy brain.
Boring.
Donald Trump.
Well, he's not healthy.
No, that's like. See, if he had gone to therapy at a young age, who knows?
If he had gone to therapy at a young age, I maybe would have voted for him.
Yeah, he may be he may be a different person.
Yeah.
That's I think a lot of people. You just think you're so caught up in your own worldview that you forget there might be something different.
So, when did you come up with the name Know You're Normal? Were you bouncing a lot of ideas around, or were you just, that kind of came to you one day?
I remember I wrote down a lot of names.
Do you have that list somewhere?
Somewhere, I think.
Of course you kept it.
Well, and there was one before when it was just t-shirts. It was going to be the Story Tee. It's like the Story Tee, ideas worth wearing. Started with ideas worth sharing, and somebody else came with the idea of ideas worth wearing because the story was going to go with it. And
Cool.
that could still be used maybe somewhere, but that's where it started. And I think when it became more about mental health, I knew that didn't really say anything, just the Story Tee. So, I don't know, I had a whole list, but I think I just knew it was important that I wanted people to feel like they're normal. That's the other thing. I want people to not feel crazy even though something's wrong. You can have OCD or bipolar disorder, like major depression, but that doesn't mean you're not normal. It's just like a different kind of normal. That's your normal.
So, I know you kind of fiddled with the spelling of your. You landed on Y-O-U-R. Why do you think you landed on that?
Because, and I was talking to Brandon about that too, like, I do want people to feel like they are normal, but that's also doesn't really force them to take action. If you're just like, no, you're fine exactly the way you are. Well, you might not be fine. There's something wrong. So you're normal, but you also need help. So and then just saying, so if you say no, you are normal, then that's just
Almost like a cop out.
yeah. It's like no, you're fine the way you are. You're beautiful just the way you are. They're like no, maybe you could be better. Like, so I thought just saying.
And I think know your normal also sounds a little bit more insightful and a little bit more mindful, which I know is something that it's important to recovery. I think that's been important to you to share.
Yeah, I think reframing the idea of what normal is.
Yeah, or just,
And like having a different set of expectations. Not expecting to be happy every day. And yeah, depending on what you're dealing with, you're gonna expect different things than these people over here. And that's just your reality.
It's very Buddhist.
Yeah. Well, I was listening to Gary Vee, business guy, and he'll get all these questions about like, you know, how much, like, I want to start a business, but I have all this going on. How do I do that? And like, how do you balance this and this? He's like, you just do it. Like, my reality is different. I have these things, and you have that. I can't. Like, you just do it. And that sounds really simple, but it also is like so like people with kids and a family, it's like, how am I supposed to do it when I have all these things going on? Like, you just rework it for your reality.
Yeah.
You have kids and you work when they go to bed, or I mean, whatever but that's your reality. What are you gonna do, get rid of your kids?
Yeah.
So you just, whatever your reality is, wherever you're living in, you deal with that. I thought that was great for business because like it is so simple. Like, people have all these questions of how am I supposed to do it. Like, you just do.
Yeah.
And you can't look at me and say I want to do it like you. Well, you're not me. You don't have my life. You don't have my responsibilities. You do it the way you have to do it.
Yeah. Know you're normal.
Yeah. What is like? Yeah. That's why I think I like it so much. It's like he's basically saying that's your reality.
So whenever you've described this idea to people in the past, and they're like, oh, okay, well, so what is that? How do you answer that?
It's really hard.
Oh, clear your throat first, though.
Well, in the past, it was like I put more of an emphasis on the t-shirt part, which I think is not going to be a big deal at first. I think it may be more secondary, because it's not my forte. I think I described it as like a mental health awareness YouTube channel. Because that's, at least right now, that's what it's going to be. It's not really doing anything else. It's just building awareness for mental health.
Who do you want it to help?
Everyone. I think the focus is the people who feel like they're, I don't know, maybe lost, or I'd say feel like I felt, where you're not really sure what else to do. I think sometimes you just want somebody to tell you that's going to be okay. I think that's the focus, but then also people who just don't know. Maybe someone who's fine and has a hard time understanding someone who's not. Which I think for a long time that was Ryan, that was my brother. Like, I don't think he understood anything of depression or mental illness at all. He's just like, oh, why are people like that? Why are people just happy?
So it's for people with mental illness, maybe their caregivers, and also their loved ones.
Yeah.
So that about covers everyone, I think.
That's the world.
I think so.
Everyone in the world.
I think in the United States, it's like 1 in every 3 adults has a diagnosis of mental illness. Yeah, and that's like all of them.
I have a large audience.
Yeah, no pressure. Okay, any other final thoughts?
No, I just think that you're really great, and go mental health.
Go mental health. Go know you're normal. Go do it.
Do it, just like be you.
Do it, girl.
So, yeah, it's definitely it's interesting to listen back to that. I definitely get a little sentimental. I'm you know, nostalgia and the idea of it is important to me, and that's, I think, part of the reason I keep the things that I do. But also, that conversation I would have remembered. I definitely would have remembered it. But just to hear it in its entirety and put myself back in that moment, and then to see how far I've come, that kind of stuff's really important to me. And maybe I'm crazy for it, but yeah, it's just great. And she's great. You know, we're not together anymore, and she does not live here, but she's doing great, you know. And I was able to contact her to ask her about the recording, so I guess things are fine. But anyway, I guess I do have a few updates. There's not really a great segue between that and this, right? I guess just let me know your thoughts. Maybe it was just more. Maybe I'm playing it more for me than I am for anybody else. But hopefully you guys found it interesting. Something in there. And sorry about the wind. I know that was it. Yeah, I fixed it as much as I could, but it was a little bit windy in there. But I do have some updates to the studio. I'm gonna keep talking about it till it is done, just so you know that I am working on it for anybody who cares about it. I'll be posting pictures soon. I do have, well, no, everything's pretty much done in here. I got to take pictures. I'm working on a website that you'll be able to go to soon. I also have a new thing that I'm doing for anyone who comes on the show, and even for anybody who's not on the show. It is this sort of, and I'll have to post a picture of this too, but it's sort of a shadow box, and it says miscellaneous important ideas. And I've put one in there. I have these yellow sheets of paper. You can write out any idea that you have. It can be about the world. It can be about your life. It can be just some thought that's been in your brain for a while that you want to get out, and you can roll it up. You could sign your name, or you can leave it anonymous, and you can put it in my miscellaneous important ideas shadow box. And at the end of the year, or at least the end of this first year, so it might only be a few months, I want to take some of them out of there and read them, or all of them, depending on how many I get in there. So if you're listening to this and you want to add to that, you can let me know. Or if you come on the show, I'm probably going to make you write something down. Either way, I'm going to fill up this box, even if it's my ideas, and it's only my ideas. So that's something I'm excited about. Ask me more about it if you want to know more about it, even though that pretty much sums it up. And I'm also just working on more content for social media, and we will be adding a video component soon. I'm still just working out the kinks and dealing with some computer issues, but I do have cameras set up in the studio. It's almost ready to go. It's just been a long process, but I'm excited. So I don't know exactly when that's going to start yet. I don't know when we're going to start doing video, but I am close. I do have everything that I need for it. It's just been a process. It's been a process, and there's been more to it than I thought there would be. So that's the other part of it, you know, because I'm also working, so it's not like I'm just sitting here all day doing nothing. I'm trying, and I'm just trying to enjoy the process too, because this is fun. Honestly, it still is fun, and I want to keep it that way. So that's it. That's it for this week. It is a short episode. I'm sorry, but that is it. So if you like this episode, please let me know. If you hated this episode and never want me to do anything like this again, please let me know, even though I still might do it. And if you have any ideas for future episodes, please let me know. Thank you so much for listening, and I'll see you next week.